And we all know immigration is a top issue for voters going into this election, illegal immigration. Vice President Kamala Harris pressed on her immigration policies under the Biden-Harris administration. During that interview with Fox News, experts say some major issues were actually left out. Mark Morgan, the Acting Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation, is here to discuss what was left out of that interview. But first, Mark, I want to talk about this migrant caravan because we've been here before in the past, and it's happening, we've seen before, right before election. And I think we have new numbers about 2,000, at least 2,000 migrants, as large as 2,000 migrants could be coming. What does this mean? Why is this happening now? Is it just simply they're concerned about who may win the White House?
Yeah, Angelo, first of all, good morning. There's a couple of things I think that are important to understand with the big picture. One, we know Mexico for the past few months have been kind of holding back some of the migrant flow, a metering, if you will, I think to give the appearance that things are actually better than they really are. The second thing is traditionally we know that as these large caravans come, and even if they kind of meet the folks that they've been holding back, is generally they disperse before they actually cross the border. And that's important to know. I think in 2021, the 20,000 Haitians we saw in Del Rio was an exception. But to your point, you're right. We've been here before. In 2016, when President Trump won, we saw what we called the Trump effect. And we saw the flow immediately go down because of the perception that the borders are going to be locked down. In 2020, we saw the opposite. And even before President Biden took office, we saw the numbers skyrocket because the perception was once they made it to our border, they're going to be released. And that's exactly what we've seen for the past 4 years. Here, it could be a little bit different. It may not matter who wins. If President Trump wins, we may have 3 months where they're going to try to get in before the border is locked down. But if Vice President Harris wins, we're potentially going to see the increase because now they don't have to worry about perception anymore or holding back because the election is over. So either way, we could see an increase.
But does it appear to be a perception here that they believe if Trump gets into office, it's going to be a clampdown?
Yeah, I think so. And so that I think you're going to see the period between November and January before President Trump takes over. You're going to see, I think, a potential push because I think that's their last chance to get in.
Now, in her Fox interview, the vice president obviously sat down with political correspondent Bret Baier, Fox News, and she faced a series of questions about the administration's record on the border crisis. But you say the vice president left out some key decisions that had a major impact. What are some of those decisions that were not mentioned?
Yeah, Angela, good question. We don't have enough time to talk about all the kind of misdirection and spin during that interview. But one thing that really stuck out to me was she said that from day one, we came with solutions. I mean, that's just a flat out lie. I mean, here's the truth and reality. This is fact. This isn't Mark Morgan talking, this is fact. On day one, they issued 94 executive orders that gutted the network of tools, authorities, and policies we had in place. Just a couple of them, and this isn't an exhaustive list, but the safe third country agreements we had with all three of the Northern Triangle countries, gone. The Remain in Mexico program, gone. Title 42, they dismantled that. The wall, they stopped constructing it, and they put restrictions on ICE's ability to do interior enforcement. That came from day one. That came without a single discussion with Congress. And she knows this, and those decisions that they made directly led to the chaos and lawlessness that we've seen for the past 4 years. And remember, Angela, it's Vice President Harris that said she was in the room for every major decision before it was made. So these decisions and the resulting chaos and lawlessness, it's on her hands.
You know, one of the first questions was from Baier was asking about how many undocumented migrants actually have been released into the country. That question was spoofed on Saturday Night Live. What is the real number? And a lot of people aren't laughing about those numbers.
Yeah, look, this is another area where I'm very frustrated. It's very straightforward. It's 10.6 million total nationwide encounters, plus another 2 million known gotaways, hundreds of thousands of unknown gotaways. And among them are the highest level of national security threats that we've encountered in any administration in history, the highest number of criminals we've encountered in any administration in history, and the highest number of people who died from fentanyl coming across the border than any other administration in history. And here's what's frustrating, Angela. She knows the data. Vice President Harris knows the data. The numbers I just rattled off are released every 30 days by DHS. You can go to their website, CBP Stats, and the data is all right there. But she intentionally dodged and avoided the question because she knows she had if you have even a remote of intellectually honesty, you know that those numbers represent something that is unsustainable and a complete broken degree of the policy by this administration that she would have owned, and she refused to answer the question.
Former Acting Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection and visiting fellow at Heritage, Mark Morgan, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet, Angelo. Thank you.